Hey guys, Joe here, and today we are taking a look at another pistol. You actually got a glimpse of it in the last video I did on the Jericho 941 because I'm batch filming tonight, and I also thought it was really interesting how similar these two pistols are. This is the originator, or at least the originating company, CZ. This is the Shadow 2. Let's check it out. If you're new to the channel, thanks for checking this out. I really do appreciate it. Maybe consider getting subscribed down below. You would help the channel grow very much, greatly. Thank you so much. Maybe use my affiliate links, hit the notification, run outside, hire a skywriter, do whatever you got to do. Let's just get the channel growing even more. That will allow me to take a look at pistols like this. Rifles too, as soon as I kind of familiarize myself with them. Before we get going, let's go ahead and do a safety check. Drop the magazine. Lock the slide back, manually and physically and visually check. Nothing there, nothing there. Treat every firearm like it's loaded until you can confirm it isn't. I have confirmed it is safe, and I will go ahead and make the gun safe. As per the usual, we will take a look at the box first. Comes in a nice plastic case. CZ has a very singular design for their case. It even has this weird push to open button, which I think is dumb, but what can you do? As you can see, it comes in a nice hard case. It comes with accessories, out the wazoo, a brush, a cleaning rod, 3 magazines with this particular pistol. Then you have a Allen key as well as a couple of components that you can change out. These are bushings for adjusting the spring tension, and there should also be a safety extension which is tucked back there along with your target from CZ as well as your owner's manual. We've all seen these cases. If you know your CZs, it's exactly the same. So let's go ahead and close her up. I'm using it for the base for display because it's more convenient and puts the gun at a better angle. In case you haven't seen the other video, this is an IWI Jericho, which is a clone of the CZ75. As you can see, shares a lot of similar design cues because it's basically a knockoff. CZ75 took over from the 1911. After it was introduced, it became one of the most copied designs for a very good reason, which we will be discussing as we go through this video. This particular one is a high-end version of the CZ75. They are available in standard B versions. Then you have tacticals, SP01s, SP01 Phantoms, which I've owned. Check out up there if you haven't seen that video yet. There's other versions of it, and then they had the Shadow, which was designed to be a competition pistol, and this is the second iteration of it called the Shadow 2. The reason the Shadow 2 even exists is because the Shadow 1 technically had some parts that were made in the CZ custom shop. Even though they were sold already installed on the pistol, they were considered aftermarket parts or custom parts. Thus, it kind of disqualified the original Shadow from shooting in production pistol. The Shadow 2 has all the parts already done, installed, ready to go. There's no reason for them to say, oh, that's not a production pistol. And you can take one of these pistols, go into competition, and as long as you are a competent shooter, pretty much destroy the competition with a $1,200 pistol. MSRP is between $1,200 and $1,300, depending on where you go and shop around. You can get one a little bit cheaper. I'm not sure how much this one exactly MSRP'd at, because I wasn't there when it came in, but I believe it is a little bit more than $1,200 because this is the Shadow Gray, or the, what do they call it, Tactical Gray. Or just gray poly coat. For some reason I thought it was tactical gray. I like this combination finish. It's a gray and black two-tone. It has aluminum side panels on it, which look really nice. They are very well checkered. This has checkered front strap and back strap. What that does is pretty obvious. I demonstrated it with the Jericho, but I'll demonstrate it again here. By having a horizontal checkering, you don't move as much in the vertical. You can see that the checkering will grab. When you have just vertical ones, it makes it a little bit easier to do. In fact, you can see that's just the inside of my thumb and my ring finger, and the gun doesn't come out of my hand. Externally, one way this differs from a standard 75B is that this is a full-length dust cover as well as a full-length slide. The 75B has a cut that makes it look like a Browning high power up top, where it kind of cuts in here and then it's a thinner slide, and it usually has a shorter dust cover a la the Browning high power, which it's kind of modeled after. Obviously this has the inverted rail system, which makes it much, much different. This particular one is a brand new unit, so it has all of the current standard features on the Shadow 2, including fiber optic front sight, although they've had those since the beginning, and then a fully adjustable rear sight. That thing can pretty much help you find the target no matter how off your shooting is, a la me, according to you guys in the comments. This is a safety, not a safety decocker. It does not come with a decocker option. Some of the 75s do allow you to swap out the safety for a decocker. This gun is not one of them. Now, because this gun does not have a decocker, once you lock the hammer back, either by racking the slide or pulling it back with your thumb like I just did, this gun is live, and the only way to get the hammer back down is to grab it, pull the trigger, and slowly put the hammer down. It's a very light hammer, it's a very light trigger, it's easy to do, however it is frowned upon by most people, especially if you're in a crowded room trying to decock a loaded pistol. I would just, if you're going to carry it that way, just cock it and lock it. Carry it like a 1911. Now, one feature they put on from the factory so that you can't claim it was an add-on piece is an extended mag release. Magazines are steel, of course, and they come out no problemo. This is actually the 941 Jericho's mag, and as you can see, it fits as well. So magazine choices are pretty wide and open for the CZ75 owner. The slide release is extended out a little bit more than the safety from the factory. However, you can add the extended competition safety. It's an ambi safety, but not an ambi slide release. Has a single slot accessory rail. It's flat like a 1913, but only one slot, so it might affect what you can actually mount on there based on how it's fit onto the rail system. The trigger pull on this gun is very light in single action. In double action, it's a pretty strong pull, but it's a smooth pull. It's not like a can't pull it or a creepy pull. It's just a nice, crisp pull. You just, right there is where you start the take up, and you just pull it straight through, and you can see my finger doesn't do any kind of weird motion. Once the first shot is fired, the gun becomes single action, which means reset is right there, way closer. And the follow-up shot is right there. Now at 4 pounds, it's not the lightest trigger ever, but it's also not a bad trigger. It's very consistent, it pulls very smoothly, and once you get used to it, you'll be firing this thing like a pro, unless you're like me and you slap the trigger because you have nerve damage. Yes, I read the comments. Disassembly is very simple, very easy, very CZ. You see these two marks right back here on the frame and the slide. Very simply, you just got to pull it back to there, and you're going to push out your slide lock slide release. However, it's a little bit tight in there, so I have found in the past that using a magazine can help. I'm going to do it off camera because I don't want to scratch this brand new frame. I have learned that having the hammer back makes it a little bit lighter and easier to pull off. But once you do that, you just pull the slide lock slide release off, and then the slide just comes right off the pistol. No need to pull the trigger since it is a hammer fired gun. Taking a look at the slide, this one is Parkerized finished very well, and just like the other gun we looked at, it does not have a captive guide rod spring. Taking a look at the guide rod and the spring can come off, and then this is the bushing I was talking about, which you can adjust with the ones that come in the box to change the tension on the recoil spring itself. It's not captive, but it's very tightly fit, so you probably won't lose it just by taking it off the firearm. Take the barrel out, and you can see it uses the tilting lockup system that Browning designed. It uses lugs on the barrel. It is not a breech lock system, and because of how low down in the frame it sits, it uses a slightly different link system. It's not a swinging link, it's just a hole in the barrel. Very nicely finished. Cold hammer forged steel, by the way. Taking a look at the slide, you can see it's very nicely finished inside and out. It's all black. That will eventually wear off, obviously, as the gun is cycled and used in competition, hopefully, and not sitting on a shelf. The rails are very beefy. I've been watching a lot of Life with Boris, so the frame rails are really beefy on this thing. And they did go ahead and go through the effort of taking the parkerization off of the frame rails, which I do really enjoy because it saves me the effort of doing that on my own pistols. So this is a polycoat finish on here. They left the inside of the frame bare as much as they could, obviously because polycoat is a little bit thicker and probably a pain in the ass to take off. But you can see the frame rails in there as well. This is a very heavy frame. This frame weighs about as much as a Glock 19 does when it's complete. That ought to give you a hint as to how heavy this firearm is. A lot of intricate controls in the side here. You have your trigger right here with your safety disconnect. Comes back here, there's your ejector. And then as you can see, you've got all your components for the hammer. I am not going to pull the trigger when the gun is apart because you can damage a lot of components doing that. Overall, very nice fit and finish. And yeah. Not much else to say about that. I like the chrome looking trigger on here. It's aluminum or aluminium, depending on where you are. But just like the Jericho, those 5 parts are all you need to do to field strip the firearm. In order to put it back together, it's exactly the opposite. Take your barrel, drop it in. Get the lugs to lock up, and then you can go ahead and start reassembling it. Put the spring in, open end first. It'll go in here. Now when you're putting it in, you want to make sure the flat edge is in the frame or in the slide, not pointing down towards the bottom of the gun. Otherwise it won't line up correctly. As you can see, that is the correct way to put it. Guide rod is flat and flush. If it's sitting at a weird angle, the gun will not go back together correctly. Just take it and you line it up on your frame rails, bring it back. There's no real pressure necessary. It's very simple. Drop in your slide lock slide release, and then you got to find the right spot. And I'm going to do it off camera because it's very tight. Sorry, again, I don't want to take the risk of scratching this gun. But yeah, very nice. So what are my opinions of the gun? Again, I've owned its polymer counterpart, the Phantom. I will concede that the Phantom doesn't have as many nice parts on it, but I've owned a Phantom, I've owned a P09, I've owned a P07, I've owned a few guns from the CZ lineup, and I've been very happy with all of them. I would love to own one of these, however they're a little bit out of my current price range, although they're in the high-end 1911 price range. So if you are considering a 1911 and you want something with higher capacity in a 9mm, because this is 17 plus 1 versus 10 plus 1 for, or 9 plus 1 for a single stack 1911 and 17 plus 1 for a double stack, which makes it not really a 1911 to the purists. This is a great option to take a look at. You can, again, get it in a P01 Tactical for about half the price. You can get the Phantom for even a little bit less than that. Or you can go full bore, get the Shadow 2, and get everything your heart desires. That brings me to the next part. As we're in this pandemic time, I can't get out to the range to shoot some of these guns, and I'm kind of keeping my eye on a few of them that have come and gone through my buddy's shop to decide what I'm going to purchase. You can help me get that decision made by leaving a comment down below telling me what your favorite pistol is. Leave a pistol name down in the comments that you haven't seen me review yet. Check out the Jiminy Shoots playlist. It'll show you all the guns I've reviewed so far. And maybe if I can get my hands on one, we'll check it out. I will be doing one gun video a week, one other video a week, and any other thing that comes up in between. So thank you guys so much for all your support so far. I want to see you guys come back. Subscribe down below, tell all your friends, sign them up when they're not looking, do all that fun jazz, and come back for the next one. And as always, I'll talk to you later.